Welcome back to the Coach Changemakers Academy. This is lesson 6, my sales page. So when we look at sales pages, I just want to cover 3 quick things. The first one is, do you actually need a sales page or not? The second one is, if you do, what makes an awesome sales page? And last but not least, I want to give you the winning formula for a masterful sales page. So let's first start with, do you actually need a sales page or not? And really, it depends. It depends on a lot of different criteria, including what your ideal client expects, what time you've got to invest in it right now, how quickly you want to move forward, and how hot your leads are at the moment now. So let's explore those just a little bit. And you can totally connect with somebody on the phone. They fall in love with you. They love your program. They don't need to look at a sales page. They say yes on the phone. So you email them a link, maybe a little short bullet point list of some recapping some of the things you said on the phone, and they sign up and they're in. Done. And then the flip side of that is, you have a conversation. They expect to see an all singing, all dancing sales page. So you need to send them to that page. Then they go in and pay that way. So you can really play it either way and anything in between. So you really need to have a think about what's going to work the best for you, for your business, and for your ideal clients at this moment in your business. It doesn't mean to say that down the track you won't have that perfect sales page, but this thing can sort of evolve over time. I've got some students now who have, say, like a one page. And when I say page, it's if you're scrolling on a web page, it might just be 1 or 2 scrolls, and that's their whole sales page. Whereas if you look at mine, which I've been working on and perfecting over the last 5 years, that's like a 5 or 6 scroll web page, sales page. And it's amazing. And I get excellent feedback on it. So there's you can do anything in between. So one good thing to think about is, what does your ideal client actually expect? You might have an ideal client, and a program price and a program that you're putting forward that if it doesn't have a schmicko, awesome, perfect sales page, they're not going to think that you're professional enough, and they're not going to go for it. So you need to consider that. Really think about what they're going to need and what they really expect. You might have an ideal client who really cares less because they're so in love with you and what you're offering that they're going to buy no matter what. So really think about them and meet them where they are as best as you can. And then still, even if you have an ideal client who really expects, the creme de la creme, and it's just not the right time for you, then do your best job, do as much as you can do right now to get that sale and to get your program moving forward. Okay, and then either way you decide to do it, you know what? The world isn't going to end. You can always change it. You can always refine it as you go forward if you're not getting the kind of results you want. So I'm putting the ball back in your court. You need to think about whether or not you're going to have a sales page for your first signature program pilot or not. Now, if you do decide that you want one, I want you to know what makes awesome pages. And for those of you who have decided, oh, you know what, I could totally do this in just an email or just a really simple short sales page where I just have an opportunity for people to click to pay me. Even if you're going down that route, I want you to know what makes an awesome page, because this is actually relevant to a sales page, a blog post, and any web page in general. So these are really great tips. So it's relevant to everybody, no matter which way you decide to go. So the first tip that I'd like to give you about what makes an awesome sales page is, in the first 5 seconds, especially when it's around a signature program sales page, your reader needs to understand very quickly, who is it for? So is this for me or not? And what pain of mine is going to get fixed with this program? And if that's answered in the first 5 seconds, then they can make that decision about whether or not this is even a page worth them investing in or not. And if it doesn't answer that in the first 5 seconds, they might leave, or they might choose to scroll. But the best thing you can do is just give them that information up front so that they can be efficient with what they do with their next step. Okay, so once you've nailed that in the first 5 seconds, and of course the template I'm going to give you will help you do that, then I want you to think about having gorgeous images that evoke positive emotion. I put positive emotion in there because, sometimes people put very professional, nice images in their signature program sales page, and it'll be somebody, a picture of them being stuck or being frustrated or being sad or being depressed. And I just think, this is planting unconscious messages, and you want to show, you can talk about being stuck or being in pain or being depressed or being down, all of those things in your words. But when you show pictures, because they're so powerful and they sink in at an unconscious level, I would highly recommend that you focus on the end, after they've gone through the transformation. Show those pictures instead when you're choosing a beautiful picture. It just makes it, you have that opportunity to plant that seed in there, that they're linking that positive emotion to you. So I think it's better to take advantage of that. Okay, and also gorgeous, beautiful images break up the text. They help the eye flow through the page a little bit more, and they make the page more engaging and more compelling. And then what that does is it then associates you and your training towards being more engaging, more interesting, more compelling. So these are all really positive anchors that you're putting in the very beginning. Can you have a sales page with no images? Absolutely. So, you can take this. I'm just going for what makes an awesome sales page. So I want you to know, the best things you can do, and then you can gauge how you're going to evolve your sales page, starting from your first launch, and then as you go. Okay, so the next point I wanted to cover is it's really important to make it easy to scan, because people usually don't read on screen. They'll scan and then they may read the bits that jump out to them from their scanning. So they will not read absolutely everything, more than likely, unless they're absolutely, 200% committed to you from the very beginning, which is very rare. So it's very unlikely that they're going to actually read all your text. They're going to scan it. So make your page very easy to scan. And with these days, 60% or more people are starting to use their phone over their computer to read stuff. So make sure it's scannable on the phone and the computer. And I've got a couple of tips from my usability days. I used to be a usability professional in the IT industry. And these are some of the tips that we learn when we're learning, how to make systems more usable and user-friendly. So scannability, make sure you have lots of white space. And, it's okay to have breath and pause around your text. There's nothing worse than a huge chunk of text. So that kind of bleeds into that second point, which is you have short blocks of text. Some rules of thumb here. Back in my usability days, we used the rule that so a width of text should be 8 words. Now that's actually not very many words if you go and actually count. So you can actually cheat that a little bit. It's just a rule of thumb. You could go to maybe 15 words across a line, but just keep it in mind that 8 words is actually the most usable and the most user-friendly if you're scanning on a screen. So a way you can shorten your paragraphs, if you don't want to you can make your text bigger, of course, or you can put an image next to it so you shrink the width of your paragraph size. And then another tip, if you want to talk about length, you don't want to have a big block of text that's like 20 lines in a row. You want to break it up by putting paragraph returns or bullet points or that kind of thing. So just be mindful of the length, like 2 or 3 lines in one block of text, one after another, is enough. And so you can really break a lot of the grammar rules that you learned in your high school English class, because reading on the web is very different. You say it more like you speak, and you want to make sure that you've got lots of white space, lots of returns, so that they can take breaths and they can scan what you're trying to say very quickly. So those are some tips around blocks of text and white space. Another good tool to use is headings and subheadings. So this is usually, you choose a different color. It'll be one of your brand colors, and you'll have a bigger font and maybe bold it, and then that'll be a heading. And your big main ideas, your main sections of your sales page will have these big headings. And then if you have subtopics under your headings, then you would turn those into subheadings. And usually they're the same color as your headings, but the font is a little bit smaller, so that visually at an unconscious level, your mind knows that this is still a part of that bigger heading idea. However, it's a minor point of it, so you can break it up into sections. And then for scannability and readability, it's brilliant, because you see the relationship of the information that you're presenting on the page. So have a look at it. I'm going to give you an example in the template, and you can see how this actually turns into an actual visual masterpiece. Okay, I've already touched on bullet points. Bullet points are really, really great. A great way to break up, especially when you're talking about the features of your signature program, the benefits, the outcomes, so that each benefit, each outcome is very different from another, but of course they all string together to be the key benefits for a certain part of your program or the program as a whole. So bullet points are very powerful too. Great way to break up text. Okay, and the last point of an awesome sales page is, of course, it covers all the stuff that people want to know to be able to make that buying decision about your program. And you're like, oh, okay, that's very helpful, Bené. So let's get on to the next point, which is the winning formula, because the winning formula has all the bits that customers actually want to know before they make a buying decision. And I know this through working with my mentors over the years and perfecting my sales pages over time. And I have to say, every time I do a launch, I go back and revisit my sales page and I add the stuff that I've learned about sales pages to it, and I'm getting really good. I know that a couple of you have already commented to me about how compelling the sales page was. I had some people come into that sales page completely cold, didn't know me before, and wanted to sign up. So it's good formula, and you can use this exact same formula for your business too. And it's not just my formula. Like, this is a proven sales page formula, that I've used and kind of adapted a little bit based on my experience and feedback from my customers. Okay, so I have a template for you. Just use the headers that I give you and start typing. And I just suggest I give you 17 different sections to address. And what I really highly recommend, this is what I do every time I go and make a new sales page, is I'll just go to, number one, and I'll just do a brain dump of all the ideas that I have there, and then I'll just move on. So I won't worry about English, grammar, punctuation, spacing, none of that stuff. I'll just get the words down. And then after I've, filled in all the sections, I go back and read it, and I'm like, wow, you'd be amazed at how quickly you can pull together a sales page and how it flows. And then it's just a matter of throwing in the right images, putting in the punctuation, putting in the headers and the subheaders, and you're there. And you're going to have a really impressive sales page. Now, there are 17 points. There's lots of things to cover, so it will take you some time to actually put all this together. But when you have it, you'll be able to reuse it over and over and over and just perfect it each time you do it. Okay. As with everything I do, everything, this is an example. It's the way that I've done it. It's what I've seen to be successful for myself and for my students. And, out there when in the industry, when I'm looking at other coaches' work. But this is my opinion, right? So please, you are the boss of your own business. You know what's going to work best for you. You know your language. You know your target audience. You know their needs better than I ever will, because that's your mojo. So please keep what you like and dump the rest. That's totally fine. And also, if you decide to do a more refined version of a sales page just to get something up, to get started, that's totally cool. Make sure that when you go back and you do your second launch, that you come back to this template and you think, and you look at the bits that you cut out and say, oh, what could I add back in now? And that would be a really great way to go. Let it grow organically each time you run your program. Totally fine. And on that note, I forgot to mention earlier that I have totally gone to market with a product, and I've never created a sales page for it. I run a coach mastermind, for example. There is no sales page on my website for that. I just have a conversation with somebody, sell it on the phone, and then send them an email to pay and opt in that way. So that approach totally works. You don't need a sales page for everything. However, with something like this that is going to be your signature program, something that you run several times a year, you definitely want to have one, because you're going to start to have so much interest, and you don't want to you don't want to have to be repeating the same information over and over. So ultimately, a great sales page will save you lots of time in being like a broken record and having to say the same stuff over and over. Okay, yeah, I think I've touched on that last point. Just make sure you revisit your sales page and up level it each time you launch your program, at every iteration, because you learn and you grow, and your language changes, and your message becomes more honed and refined every time you run your program. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an example for those of you who know, oh, what's her template look like? This is what it looks like. It's pretty simple. I just give you 17 points with some leading ideas so that you can just go in there and start typing. So that's the tool that you've got to help you along with your sales page. Okay, and then of course, my sales page follows that template example pretty dedicatedly. So it's a really great example for seeing how that template can actually transform into a master sales page. On that note, if you've come across another coaching program or something and you loved their sales page and you like wanted to press buy the second you finished reading it, that's a great sign. So feel free to model what they're doing. I mean, and that's one of the ways that I've come up with the template that I use now is I've looked at some other sales pages, some programs where I almost pressed the buy button and then I stepped back and thought about it and I was like, actually, but hey, you don't even need this program. You don't even need this tool. And I almost bought it. So that is a sign of a great sales page. So model what they're doing, use their headlines, and then just tweak the text to work with your ideal clients and the transformation that your signature program delivers. And you'll find that that's a really great way to work too. So that is an alternative if you have something in mind that you really love and you'd love to model. Go for it. Okay, so in summary, your first step is to decide whether you need a sales page or not, and whether or not you're going to do one for this pilot of your signature program or not. Once you've made that decision, and if it is that you are going to make a sales page, make sure that you use the awesome tips for the tips that I've given you for awesome sales pages and the winning formula. All right, that's all I've got for you today on sales pages. If you have any other questions, feel free to post them in the Facebook page and, of course, bring them to our meeting. All right, have a great one. Happy coaching.